Hello and welcome to our Ace-Educate, where we are discussing about KSET 2024 question paper with their answers and explanation. Also, we are eliminating the wrong answers with their explanation so that you can get a crystal clear view of that question as well as answers, and you can prepare for your upcoming KSET exam, which is on 2nd November 2025. And before we start with this our today's video, already we have discussed the KSET 2023 question paper. If you haven't watched that, please check out that and come to here. Okay, so we'll start with the first question, that is the novel A Thousand Acres by Jane Simile is a model of William Shakespeare's which tragedy? So the correct answer for this question is King Lear. So Jane Similes Pulitzer Prize-winning novel A Thousand Acres is a modern retelling of Shakespeare's tragedy, that is King Lear. The plot centers on an aging farmer, Loa, who decides to divide his thousand acres farm among three daughters, which leads to familial conflict and tragedy, mirroring the central plot of King Lear. So Hamlet, when we are talking about Hamlet, this play is about Prince seeking revenge on his father's murderer. It does not share the same plot structure with this A Thousand Acres of Land. Next we have Othello. This tragedy focuses on jealousy, betrayal and racism. It is not about a patriarch dividing his legacy among his children. And Macbeth. This play explores the corrupting nature of ambition and power. Its themes and plot distinct with this A Thousand Acres. So next question we have, that is, who is the famous writer in Indian with the cerebral palsy? The correct answer is Malini Chib. Malini Chib is well-known Indian author and disability rights activist who has cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy. Her autobiography, One Little Finger, details her experience and challenges and has been a source of inspiration for many. Amrita Pritam, a prominent Punjabi writer and poet, she was not known to have a cerebral palsy. And next we have Preeti Shinoy, a contemporary best-selling author in India. She does not have cerebral palsy. And Indra Pramit Das, she was a spectacular fiction writer. He does not have cerebral palsy. Next we have the question, the truth about me is unblinkingly courageous and moving autobiography of whom? It is not about slave, it is not about women, it is not about children, but it is about a Hijra. The Truth About Me, a Hijra life story, is autobiography of A. Revati, a transgender woman from Tamil Nadu, India. The book provides us a powerful and honest account of her life, struggles and experience within the Hijra community. Already I have told the wrong answers, so you can go through that. Next we have the question, you are a strange woman. What imperious young woman you are. These words describe which character in the short story Mashi. So in the Rabindranath Tagore short story Mashi, the title character Mashi is a widow who decides, who dedicates her life to caring for her nephew Jotin. The quoted lines are spoken by Jotin, expressing his complex feelings towards his aunt, who he sees as both caring and overbearing. So Mani, Jotin's wife, who is not a subject of this line. Jotin, he is the one speaking these lines, but not the one being described. Rathi, this is not a character in this story. So next we have question. Who among the following writers is known for his unforgettable sense of humor and comedy? So the correct answer is P.G. Wodehouse. In English, author celebrated for his witty and humorous novels and short stories, most famously the Jeeves and Wooster series. His work is characterized by its light-hearted tone, intricate plots, and memorable comedic characters. Thomas Hardy was known for tragic novels and he was not humorous one. D.H. Lawrence, his works are known for intense psychological and emotional explorations, not comedy. John Glassworthy, famous Poetry Saga, which he always wrote on serious social commentary. He was also not known for humor and comedy. Next we have question. But a human being, she cannot simply exist. She is her kind. Every thought bending and crossing its coherence inside her. Nothing will let her, not for a moment. Every emotion, every thought is invaded by author. These lines are written by Nandi Godmeder in which work? So these lines we can observe in Burger's Daughter. This quote is from Nandi Godmeder's novel Burger Daughter. The novel explores the life of Rosa Burger, the daughter of a white anti-apartheid activist in South Africa. She grapples with her family's legacy and her own identity. In politically charged environment, the line reflects the intense inner turmoil of the protagonist. So we have other novels, they are not belong to this line. Okay, next we have The Famished Road is a story of whom? So the correct answer is Azaro and Abiku. Ben Okri's Booker Prize winning novel, The Famished Road, is narrated by Azaro and Abiku, or spirit child, in Yoruba mythology. And Abiku is a child who is born to die and be reborn repeatedly. Azaro's existence is a constant struggle between the spirit world and physical world. So, why other options are incorrect? Because these are not protagonists of the Famished Road. Next, we have the question: one who won the Western Australian Premier Book Award and Kate Chalice Raka Award? So the correct answer is Benang. Kim Scott novel Benang from the Heart is significant work of Indigenous Australian literature. It won the Western Australian Premier's Book Award and Kate Chalice Raka Award in 2000. So True Country, an earlier novel by Kim Scott, it did not win the specific awards. The Dead Man Dance, another novel by Kim Scott only, it won Miles Franklin Award but not awards mentioned in the question. And Kayang and Me, the collaborative work by Kim Scott and Hazel Brown, it won Western Australia's Premier's Book Award for non-fiction but not Raka Award. So that's why the Benang is the correct answer. Next we have the question. American female novelist Pearl S. Buck won the Nobel Prize in 1938 for the book. So the correct answer is The Good Earth. Pearl S. Buck was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1938 for her rich and truly epic description of peasant life in China, for her biographical masterpiece, while the prize was for her body of work. The Good Earth is her most famous novel and was a significant factor in her receiving the award. So the Decameron is written by Italian author Boccaccio in 14th century. A House Divided, a novel by Pearl S. Buck, but The Good Earth is most acclaimed work. The Patriot, another work by Pearl S. Buck only, but not as well known as The Good Earth. Next we have who is the author of book Ivanhoe? The correct answer is Sir Walter Scott. Ivanhoe, published in 1819, a historical romance novel by Sir Walter Scott. It is set in 12th century England and is credited with helping to popularize the historical novel genre. So, O. Henry, an American short story writer known for his surprise endings. R.L. Stevenson, a Scottish novelist and poet, author of Treasure Island and Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Ernest Hemingway, American novelist and short story writer known for his minimalistic style, and he's not known for this Ivanhoe. So next we have the question on literary biographia. So in Biographia Literaria, St. Coleridge defines the imagination as a faculty by which the correct answer is the soul perceives the spiritual unity of the universe. So in Biographia Literaria, Samuel Taylor Coleridge distinguished between the primary and secondary imagination. He sees the primary imagination as a power of perception, while secondary imagination is the creative faculty that dissolves, diffuses, dissipates in order to recreate. For Coleridge, the imagination is a spiritual and unifying force that allows the soul to perceive the underlying unity of the universe. So the mind separates image by its discriminatory power. This is more aligned with the faculty of fancy, which Coleridge contrasts with the imagination. The soul perceives the phenomenal diversity of the universe. The imagination seeks unity, not just diversity. So this is also wrong answer. The mind acquires mass by its associate power. This is also more characteristics of fancy. It is not about imagination. Next we have question number 12. Which of the W.M. Thackeray's novel closing lines are these? Which of us is happy in this world? Which of us has his desire or having it satisfied? So the correct answer is Vanity Fair. These lines are closing lines of William Makepeace Thackeray's novel Vanity Fair. The novel is satire on 19th century British society, and the final lines reflect the novel's clinical and disillusioned tone. So other works are not having this line. That's why these are wrong answers. Next we have question number 13. Which of the following is a Jacques Derrida's work? The correct answer is The Transcendence of Ego. The Transcendence of Ego. The Transcendence of Ego is a work by French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre, a key figure in existentialism. Jacques Derrida was a key figure in the post-structuralist and deconstruction. So the correct answer is that The Transcendence of Ego. So next we have the question number 14. Which of the following statement is not true about Areopagitica? The correct answer is it pleads for British privilege regarding free trade. So John Milton's Areopagita is a passionate defense of freedom of the press and argument against the republication of censorship. It was a speech addressed to Parliament of England in 1664. It does not, however, deal with the issues of free trade. So it argues for liberty and unlicensed printing. This is a central theme of the work. It was published in 1654. This is also correct year of publication. It is a speech addressed to Parliament of England. This is also form intent audience of the work. Next we have question number 15. All Arising to Great Place is by dash satire, Francis Bacon. The correct answer is Winding. The correct answer is Winding. This quote from Francis Bacon's essay of Great Place. The full quote is All Rising to Great Place is by Winding Stir. And if there be factions, it is a good to side man's self, whilst he is rising, and to balance himself when he is placed. This is a full quote of that. Bacon uses the metaphor winding staircase to describe the often indirect and complex path to power and influence. While the other words might also describe a path to power, the correct words Bacon's essay is winding. Okay. Next we have the question number 16, that is humanities. And the science were in fact two cultures was suggested by. The correct answer is C.P. Snow in a Reedy lecture. In 1959, the British scientist and novelist C.P. Shaw delivered a lecture titled The Two Culture and Scientific Revolution at Cambridge University. In it, he argued that the dangerous gap had opened between the science and humanities, creating two distinct and mutually uncomprehending cultures. So, F.R. Lewis, in his book The Great Tradition, Lewis, a literary critic, famously responded to Snow's lecture, but he did not originate the two culture concept. W.H. Auden is an Oxford lecturer on poetry. Auden was a poet and critic, but he was not associated with two culture debate. Next, Huxley is Oxford lecture on poetry. He wrote on the relationship between science and literature, but he did not coin the phrase two culture. Next, we have question number 17. From among the Canterbury pilgrims, which group would qualify the upper caste? So the correct answer is a knight, the squire, and the prioress. Prioress. In Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales, the pilgrimage are drawn from various social classes. The knight, his son, the squire, and the princess are all the members of the upper classes. The knight is a nobleman, a squire is a training to be a knight, and the prioress is a head of convent and position of a high social standing. Next, why others options are incorrect? Why? Because the pardoner, the miller, the nun priest, these characters represents the lower and middle class. The miller is a commoner and the pardoner is a corrupt church official. The reeve, the municipal, the clerk, these are also represents the middle class and working class profession. Uh, the Franklin, the person, the wife of Bath, the Franklin is a wealthy landowner, but Parson was a humble country priest, and wife of the Bath is form of merchant class. So next we have the question: where Sir Thomas Watt adapted Petrarch and Petrarchism to English sounds and meters. Survey's verse tends to look back beyond Petrarch to the correct answer is Latin verse. So Sir Thomas Watt is credited with introducing the Petrarchan sonnet in English. Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey also wrote sonnets, but his work were more influenced by classical Latin poetry, particularly the works of Virgil and Horace. Surrey's innovations in form of meter, such as development of blank verse, were also inspired by the classical models. French verse, Italian verse, and Spanish verse were influenced from European vernacular tradition. And Surrey's primary classical model was Latin. Next, we have question number 19. Religious controversies in England, particularly during the 15th century, led to the promotion of. So the correct answer is English prose. The 15th century in England was a time of religious upheaval, with the rise of Lollard movement and debates over the translation of Bible into English. These controversies spurred the production of a large body of religious and polemical writing in English prose, as the different factions sought to persuade the public of their views. So naval power, the British Empire, and the missionary movement, these developments occurred later in English history, were not directly result of 15th century religious controversies. So next we have question number 20. Which of the following works does not have an mad woman as in its character? The correct answer is The Mad Woman in the Attic. The Mad Woman in Attic is a work of feminist literary criticism by Sandra Gilbert and Susan Gabar. It is not a work about fiction and does not have any character traditionally sense. The title refers to Bertha Mason, the Mad Woman in Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, and the book explores the representation of women 19th century literature. The Yellow Wallpaper, a short story by Carlette Perkins Gilman about a woman who descends into madness. Wide Sargasso Sea, a novel by Jane Reyes that tells a story about Bertha Mason from Jane Eyre. And Jane Eyre, a novel by Charlotte Bronte that features that character of Bertha Mason, the mad woman in the attic. So next we have the question number 21. Which of the following is not a characteristic feature of language? So language is instinctive. While the capacity of language is innate in humans, language itself is learned, not instinctive. Humans are not born speaking a particular language, they acquire it through exposure and interaction. The other options are all recognized as a feature of language. So next quick question we have, that is question number 22. Who formulated the term pragmatic maxim? So this term is formulated by Charles Sanders Peirce. The pragmatic maxim is a central principle of philosophical school of pragmatism, and it was first formulated by American philosopher Charles Sanders Peirce in 1870. The maxim states that the meaning of concept is determined by its practical consequences. The and the other three answers are not related to this, so they are wrong. Choose the correct statement on creativity. This is from your teaching aptitude section. So creativity is generally understood as the ability to produce something new and valuable. This process is typically seen as intentional and purposeful rather than the result of random accidents. So other options are wrong. Why? Because creativity has a long been not regarded as one of the defining features of human language. No, on the contrary, the ability to generate and understand an infinite number of novel sentences is considered as a key aspect of human language. So it is wrong answer. Creativity and newness are not related. No, it is also wrong answer. Why? Because creativity is inherently linked to the concept of newness or novelty. Creativity must be seen as a feature which is necessarily act as on a material such as language. So this is also wrong answer. Why? Because while creativity is a manifest in many domains, like language is one of the primary mediums, so we can communicate. So next we have question number 24. Thomas Kuhn presented his notion of pragmatism in his influential book. The correct answer is B, the structure of scientific revolution. Thomas Kuhn, a philosopher and historian of science, introduced the concept of paradigmic shift in his seminal work, 1962 book, The Structure of Scientific Revolution. He argued that scientific progress is not a gradual accumulation of knowledge, but rather than a series of revolutionary upheavals in which one scientific paradigm is replaced by another. So the correct answer is B only. So next we have the question number 25. A significant difference between Lev Vygotsky and Jean Piaget's theories about. So this is also question related to your teaching aptitude. So the correct answer is the relationship between language and thought. Lev Vygotsky and Jean Piaget were both influential developmental psychologists, as you already know, but they had different views on the relationship between language and thought. Piaget believed that thought develops before language and that language is a tool of expressing the thoughts. While Vygotsky, on the other hand, he argued that language and thought are initially separate, but they become intertwined as a child develops, and that language plays a crucial role in shaping the thought. So why other options are incorrect? Why? Because the constructive objective role of children in the process of meaning making. So these were not a part of their argument. So here is the end of this video. Yes. Bifurcating a topic into units and subunit is known as. The correct answer for this question is analysis. In the context of pedagogy and curriculum design, analysis is the process of breaking down a larger topic or subject into smaller or manageable components, such as units and subunits. This helps us in understanding and organizing the content for teaching and learning process. So units of teaching means these are the results of analysis and not process itself. Effective teaching is a broad term for successful instruction, of which analysis is a preparatory part. And critical analysis involves evaluating and interpreting the topic, which is different cognitive process from simply breaking down it. Okay, so that's why analysis is the correct answer for 26th question. Next we have the question number 27. The term method is best replaced by what? The correct answer for this question is pedagogy. Okay. So in modern language teaching, the term method is often seen as too rigid. That's why pedagogy is a broader and more fixable term that encompasses the theory and practice as well of teaching and learning process, including the dynamic relationship between teachers, students, and learning content. So dynamic interplay, this describes the characteristics of a good pedagogy, but it is not a replacement term of method. Acquisition, this refers to process of learning a language, not a method of teaching it. Theory, pedagogy includes theory, but it also includes practice. So pedagogy is the correct answer, which can be replaced with the method. So next we have question number 28. Identify the sentence with a dangling participle. The correct answer is flying over the city, the lights below were mesmerizing. A dangling participle is a participle that does not logically modify any word in the sentence. In this case, flying over the city should modify the person who is flying, but the person is not mentioned in the sentence. It sounds as if the lights were flying over the city. That's why this is the correct answer. After being washed, Sarah hung the clothes on the line. Washed correctly modifies the clothes. Implied, right? A better construction would be after washing the clothes. So this can be the correct option if we are talking about the dangling participle. With a loud crash, the door was slammed shut. The phrase with a loud crash correctly modifies the action of the door. That's why it's not a dangling participle. I heard the loud thunder while watching the storm. Watching the storm correctly modifies I. That's why this is not also dangling participle. So next we have question number 29. Which of the following term refers to words or phrases used to link ideas and create coherence in discourse? So the correct answer for this is discourse makers. So discourse makers are words or phrases that signal the relationship between different parts of discourse. They help to structure the conversation and guide the listener's interpretation. While discourse connectors is a similar term, discourse makers is a broader and more widely used term in linguistics. So why others options are incorrect? Because speech acts, these are the utterance that perform an action. Discourse connectors, these are a narrower term which is often used interchangeably with the discourse makers, but the latter is more common. Anaphora, this is the use of word to refer back to previously mentioned word or phrase. That's why discourse makers are the correct answer for this question. Next we have question number 30. What is literary device used in His ambition knows no bounds, emphasizing limitless ambition? So the correct answer is hyperbole. Hyperbole is the use of exaggeration of emphasis or effect. To say that ambition knows no bounds is an exaggeration, as all ambition has limits. This statement is not meant to be taken literally, but to emphasize the great extent of the person's ambition. Now, note that the question incorrectly spells hyperbole as hyperbola. So you have to be very careful while choosing the options. So irony. Irony means this involves a contrast between what is said and what is meant. Litotes This is an understatement in which affirmative is expressed by negative or its contrary. For example, not good, not bad means good. Allusion. This is an indirect reference to another work or literature, or person, or an event. That's why when it comes to exaggeration, hyperbole is a correct answer for that. Next we have the question number 31. What was the language policy of Indian National Congress during colonial period? The correct answer for this question is D. The Indian National Congress supported the use of multiple national languages, including English, during the colonial period. The Indian National Congress, from its inception, recognized the importance of both language, English and various Indian languages. While there was a strong push for the development and use of Indian language, English was also seen as a necessary tool for communication and administration, especially in the context of the anti-colonial struggle. So A, B, C, these options are too absolute. The Indian National Congress policy was more nuanced and inclusive than those options is suggested. Next we have question number 32. What was the primary motivation behind the British government's promotion of English in Indian during the colonial period? So the correct answer is to promote modernization and westernization of India. The British promoted English in India to create a class of Indians who were Indian blood and color, but English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect. As Thomas Babington Macaulay famously put in his Minute of Indian Education, 1835, the goal was create to colonial administration that would be loyal to British and help to spread Western culture and values throughout the India. A and D. The British were not interested in promoting or preventing Indian languages and cultures for their own sake, but they only in how they related to British colonial interest. And B. While facilitating communication was a secondary benefit, the primary goal was to create a loyal administrative class. That's why B is the correct option for this question. Next we have question number 33. When did the East India Company establish trading post in India? The correct answer is early 17th century. The English East India Company was founded in 1600 and it established its first trading post in Surat in 1613. The company gradually expanded its presence in India throughout the 17th century. So all the other options, these are too late. That's why early 17th century is correct answer for that question. What was the primary language? Next we have question number 34. What was the primary language of administration, education and law during the colonial period in India? So the correct answer is English. Following Macaulay's Minute on Indian Education in 1835, English became the official language of government, law and higher education in British India. So Hindi, Sanskrit, Tamil, while these all were major Indian languages, none of them had the same official status as English had during the colonial period. So next we have question number 35. What is the view of many Indians about the importance of studying English in India? The correct answer is it is viewed as a tool for social and economical advancement. In contemporary India, proficiency in English is widely seen as essential for accessing higher education, better job opportunities, and upward social mobility. While A and B are wrong answers, why? Because some people may hold their views. The dominant view is that English is important for practical reasons. And D, the study of English is not generally seen as a way to promote regional languages, through there are movements to promote education in mother tongues. Okay. So next we have question number 36. When did the Constituent Assembly of India begin its work on the Indian Constitution? The correct answer is 1946. The Constituent Assembly of India was elected to write the Constitution of India. It held its first meeting on 9th December 1946. So 1945, the decision to form the Constituent Assembly was made in 1945, but it did not begin its work in the following year. 1947, India gained independence in 1947, but the Constituent Assembly had already been at work for several months. The Constitution was adopted in 1949, and the same came into force in 1950. So these years you should remember. So next we have question number 37. What was the goal of Official Language Act 1963? So the correct answer is C. To recognize multiple official languages in India. The Official Languages Act 1963 was passed to provide for the continued use of English for the official purpose alongside Hindi. It also recognized the importance of other Indian languages and provided for their use in a certain context. So A and B, the Act did not seek to eliminate English or make Hindi the sole official language. In fact, it was passed to address the concerns in non-Hindi speaking states about the imposition of Hindi. D. The Act did not promote English as an official language, but rather than allowed for its continued use. Next, we have question number 38. Which British administrator passed a resolution for the promotion of European literature and science among the natives of India? So the correct answer for this question is Lord Bentinck. In 1935, Governor General Lord William Bentinck enacted the English Education Act, which was based on the recommendations of Thomas Babington Macaulay. This act made English the medium as the instruction in higher education in India and promoted the study of Western science and literature. Lord Warren Hastings, Lord Cornwallis, and Lord Hardinge, these were important figures in history of British India, but Bentinck was the one who passed the specific resolution. So next we have question number 39. Who are the co-editors of Shuntifying English, the phenomena of Hinglish? So the correct answer is Rita Kothari and Rupert Snail. Shuntifying English, the phenomena of Hinglish is 2011 book edited by Rita Kothari and Rupert Snail. The book explores the mixing of English and Hindi in contemporary India. The question is flawed as it asks for single answers but provide two correct options. Assuming there may be primary editor or this is a multiple correct question, both are valid. For the purpose of single choice answer, let's consider the first listed editor in most citation. So Yamuna Kachuru, a linguistic known for work on Hindi and Indian languages, but not as a co-editor of this book. Alistair Pennycook, a linguistic known for his work for critical applied linguistics, but not a co-editor of this book. Now next we have question number 40. The Sadler Commission report 1917-1919 was a critical of quality of students graduating from the university and had very persuasive remarks on English and the use of mother tongue in Indian education. What was the commission appointed for? So the correct answer for this is to study the problems of Calcutta University. The Sadler Commission, also known as Calcutta University Commission, was appointed in 1917 to investigate the problems of Calcutta University. Its reports, published in 1919, made wide-ranging recommendations for the reform of secondary and higher education in India. So ACD answer, these were not a primary focus of Sadler Commission, that's why these are wrong. Next we have question number 41. According to Gayatri Chakravarti, Spivak or sublatin is the correct answer is all of the above. In her influential essay, Can the Sublatin Speak? Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak uses the term subaltern, refer to those who are marginalized and opposed by multiple systems of power, including colonialism, class, and gender. The term is not limited to any one group, but it often refers to women, post-colonial societies. Note that the question misspells subaltern, okay, or subaltern. So you have to be very careful. You have to check the spellings also while answering the question. Next, we have question number 42. Chinua Achebe attacks for its racism. So the correct answer is Heart of Darkness. In his 1975 lecture, An Image of Africa, Racism in Conrad's Heart of Darkness, Chinua Achebe famously criticized the Joseph Conrad's novel as a racist work that dehumanizes Africans. Adventure of Huckleberry Finn. While this novel has been criticized for use of racial slurs, it is not a primary target of Achebe's critique. Frankenstein. This novel explores the themes of creation and but not race in same way as Heart of Darkness. The Nigger of Narcissus. Another novel by Conrad that had been criticized for racist title, but Heart of Darkness is the correct or focused of Achebe's most famous essay. So next we have question number 43. Which of these books were written by Ronald Barthes? So the correct answer is Mythologies. Mythologies is a 1957 book by French literary theorist philosopher Ronald Barthes. The book is collection of essays that analyze the myths of contemporary popular culture, from wrestling to soap powder. So the Mythbuster, a popular science television show, a modern myth, the myth factor, these are not titles of books by Barthes. So next we have question number 44. Who coined the phrase the two nations to describe the disparity in Britain between rich and poor? The correct answer is Benjamin Disraeli. The phrase that two nations was popularized by Benjamin Disraeli in 1845 novel Sibyl or the Two Nations. The novel explores the vast social economic gulf between the rich and poor Victorian England. So Charles Dickens, Thomas Carlyle, Frederick Ingalls, these were all writers who commented on the social problems of their time, but they were not coined this two nations phrase. So next we have question number 45. What was the book that put Judith Butler on the map 1990? The correct is Gender Trouble. Judith Butler's 1990 book, Gender Trouble, Feminism and Subversion of Identity, is a foundational text of a queer theory and gender studies. In it, Butler argues that gender is not fixed essence but performance that is constituted through the repeated acts. Bodies that matter and Undoing Gender, these are also important books by Butler, but Gender Trouble is most famous and influential work. 50 Shades of Grey, a 2011 erotic novels by E.L. James. So next we have question number 46. Bowdy's concept of cultural capital refers to, the correct answer is the idea that schools are not neutral and socialist. Success requires certain cultural understanding. So the French socialist Pierre Bourdieu introduced the concept of cultural capital to refer to the collection of cultural skills, knowledge, and dispositions that are valued in a given society. He argued that the education system is not a neutral, but rather than rewards those who possess the cultural capital of dominant class. So B, C, D are irrelevant to this cultural capital. That's why they are wrong. Next we have question number 47. What was Gramsci's term for cultural consequences supporting the capitalism? So hegemony was the term which supports this cultural consensus. The Italian Marxist philosopher Antonio Gramsci used the term hegemony to describe the way in which the ruling class maintains its power not just through force but also through the dissemination of its values, beliefs throughout the society, so that they become the common sense of this age. So, ideological state apparatus, a term used by French Marxist philosopher Louis Althusser to refer the institutions such as schools and media that reproduce the ideology of ruling class. Discourse, a term used by French philosopher Michel Foucault to refer the system of thought that shapes our understanding of the world. And universalism, this is a belief of universal principles or values. Next we have question number 48. What is archetype? Archetype. What is archetype? Uh, the correct answer is an ideal or more model after which others are patterned. So the archetype is universally understood symbol, term or pattern of behavior, a prototype upon which others are copied or pattern or emulated. Archetypes are often used in mythologies, literature and art. Concept was famously developed by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, who believed that archetypes are the part of collective unconscious. So the character from the comic book Asterix and Gaul, this is example of specific character, not a general archetype. So next we have question number 49. Stuart Hall was inspired by the text written by Antonio Gramsci. What was it called? The correct answer is the Prison Books. Stuart Hall, a key figure in the development of cultural studies, was heavily influenced by the work of Antonio, particularly his prison notebooks. Gramsci wrote these notebooks while imprisoned by fascist regime in Italy, and they contain his most important theoretical reflections on culture, politics, and power. The questions incorrectly list the title as Prison's Diaries. Mm, so, the Marxism Diaries are not a real title. The Motorcycle Diaries, a memoir by Marxist revolutionary Che Guevara. The Princess Diaries is a series of young adult novels by Meg Cobot. So next we have the last question, which is 51. Who wrote a book exploring the concept of culture from 1780 to 1950? So Raymond Williams is the correct answer for this. The Welsh Marxist cultural theorist Raymond Williams explored the history of the concept of culture in 1958 book Culture and Society 1780 to 1950. So Walter Benjamin, a German Jewish philosopher and cultural critic. Sheldon Cooper, a fictional character from television show The Big Bang Theory. Edward Said, the Palestine American literary theorist and public intellectual famous for his book Orientalism. So this was our analysis for remaining questions from the that perfection is not possible and small faults in a good piece will be tolerated. So this statement is given by Horace. So the correct answer is C. In his Ars Poetica, the art of poetry, the Roman poet Horace advised poets to be mindful of their craft, but also he acknowledged that the minor flaws are inevitable and forgivable in an otherwise a great work. He suggests that critics should not be overly focused on the small faults but should appreciate the work as a whole. So why other options are incorrect? Why? Because the Virgil, a celebrated Roman poet, but this specific critical view is attributed to Horace only. Livy was a Roman historian. He was not a literary critic. Aristotle, the great philosopher, in his Poetics, focused on the concepts like mimesis, catharsis, while he discussed artistic unity. This particular sentiment about tolerating small fault is more famously associated with Horace. So next we have the question number 52. It is not rhyming and versing that maketh a poet no more than a long gown maketh an advocate. Who has said this? So this statement is told or said by Sir Philip Sidney in the Defense of Poets, also known as Apology for Poetry, written around 1581. Sidney argues that the essence of poetry lies not in its formal elements like rhyme and meter, but it is in its ability to create speaking picture of virtue to teach and delight the reader. Why other options are incorrect? Why? Because William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, Edmund Spenser, while all are major poets of Elizabethan era. This specific prose argument about the nature of poetry is from Sidney's critical treatise. So next we have the question number 53. The end of writing is to instruct. The end of poetry is to instruct by pleasing. Who has said this? So this particular statement is said by Dr. Samuel Johnson. This statement encapsulates Dr. Samuel Johnson's neoclassical view of literature purpose. He believed that literature should have a moral and didactic function. It means to instruct, but that poetry achieves this aim through aesthetic pleasure by pleasing. This idea has its roots in Horace's concept of Dule et utile, sweet and useful. Why other options are incorrect? Why? Because William Wordsworth, the Romantic poet, emphasized the spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling in his definition of poetry. Samuel Taylor Coleridge focused on the power of imagination to create and unify. Matthew Arnold argued that poetry is a criticism of life and should possess high seriousness. That's why Samuel Johnson is the correct answer for this question. So next question we have that who called Shelley's beautiful and ineffectual angel, beating in the void his luminous wings in a vain. So the correct answer for this question is Matthew Arnold. The Victorian critic Matthew Arnold made this famous and somewhat despairing comment about P.B. Shelley in his essay 1888 Essays Shelley's. While acknowledging Shelley's lyrical beauty, Arnold criticized his poetry for being disconnected from the real world and lacking in a substance. The incorrect options are I. Richard, T.S. Eliot. Both were influential 20th century critics, but this specific quote is from the Victorian era. So we have to concentrate on the eras also, so we can eliminate the wrong answers. Eliot was also critical of Shelley, but this phrasing is Arnold's. W.B. Yeats, he was an Irish poet, admired Shelley's and saw him as a key figure in a romantic tradition, not an ineffectual angel. So next we have question number 55. F.R. Leavis' Revolution provides us with the critical opinions on post-Shakespearean poetry. Revaluation, Tradition and Development of English Poetry is a landmark work by F.R. Leavis that re-examines the canon of English poetry from the 17th century onward. He champions poets like John Donne and criticizes others like Milton and Shelley, seeking to establish a great tradition of English poetry. The modern poetry, while Leavis wrote on modern poets, Revaluation focuses on historical tradition leading up to the modern era. Drama. Leavis wrote about drama, but Revaluation is specifically about poetry. Novel. Leavis' major work on the novel is the Great Tradition. Okay. So next we have question number 56. According to Leonil Trilling, how many faces does man have? So the correct answer for this is C. In the modern times, attitude towards self had changed and developed, resulting in a various phases appearing with varying regularity in different situations. This question alludes to Leon Trilling's work Sincerity and Authenticity, where he explores the modern conceptions of the self. Trilling argues that the modern self is a complex, often fragmented, and performs different roles in a different social context. This is a departure from older ideas of a unified, sincere self. This option best captures that nuanced historical and psychological understanding of the self that Thrilling developed. A, B, D, these options are too simplistic and do not reflect the complexity of Trilling's analysis of the modern self. So next we have the question number 57. Who laid emphasis on the inner life and inner experience in the sublime and beautiful? So the correct answer for this question is Edmund Burke. In his 57 work, A Philosophical Enquiry into the Origin of Our Ideas of Sublime and Beautiful, Edmund Burke shifted the focus on the aesthetic from the qualities of the object itself to the psychological and physiological experience of the receiver. He analyzed the sublime as an experience of awe and terror that has a powerful effect on individuals' inner life. So Joseph Addison, while he wrote about pleasures of the imagination, Brooks' analysis was more systematic and psychological. T.S. Eliot and Alexander, they belonged to different literary periods and had a different critical concerns. So next we have question number 58. 7 types of ambiguity is written by whom? So the correct answer for this is William Epsom. 7 types of ambiguity was first published in 1930. Is a foundational text of the new criticism movement written by William Epsom. While he was still an undergraduate, the book is pioneering work of the close reading that explores the complex and multiple meanings with a poetic language. I.A. Richards, Epsom's teacher and major influence, but not the author of this book. J.C. Ramson and Austin Warren, key figures in American new criticism, but Epsom was a British. So these things you have to remember. So next we have question number 59. In which year was Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's published? The correct answer is 1929. Virginia Woolf's landmark feminist essay, A Room of One's Own, was first published in 1929. It is originated from a series of lectures she delivered at a Cambridge University the previous years and famously argues that a woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write a fiction. So others are incorrect options. So next we have question number 60. Who among the following Greek philosopher has a bearing on the composition of P.B. Shelley's Adonis? The correct answer for this question is Plato. P.B. Shelley was deeply influenced by the philosophy of Plato. His pastoral elegy Adonis, written on the death of John Keats, is infused with the Platonic ideas about beauty, love, and immorality. The poem's conclusion, where the souls of Adonis becomes one with the eternal spirit of the universe, is a clear expression of Platonic philosophy. So Thales, Socrates, and Aristotle, while important philosophers, Plato's theories of forms and the immorality of the soul had the most direct and profound influence on Shelley's romantic idealism. So next we have the question number 61. Structuralism was popularized by Ferdinand de Saussure course in general linguistics. The correct answer is A only, Ferdinand de Saussure's course in a general linguistics. Structuralism as an intellectual movement was fundamentally shaped by the linguistic theories of Ferdinand de Saussure. His published book Course in a General Linguistics 1916 introduced a key concept like arbitrary nature of the linguistic science and the idea of language as a system of relation, which were later adopted by thinkers in anthropology, literary criticism, and other fields. The I. Richards, the meaning, a key text for new criticism. Wolfgang Iser's reading process, a work of reader response criticism. J. Hills Miller's The Disappearance of God, a work of deconstructive criticism. Next we have the question number 62. An early postmodern theorist coined the neologism interregnance. The correct answer for is Ihab Hassan. Ihab Hassan, a prominent theorist of postmodernism, coined the term indeterminance by combined indeterminacy and immanence. The term is used to describe the key feature of postmodern thought, which embraces ambiguity, fragmentation, and the lack of fixed meanings. David Harvey, a Marxist geographer who has written on postmodernism, John Barth, a postmodern novelist, Linda Houghton, a theorist of postmodernism, known for her work on a parody and irony. So, name historism was coined by whom? The correct answer is Stephen Greenblatt. The literary critic Stephen Greenblatt is credited with coining the term new historism in early 1960. This approach to literary criticism emphasized the historical and cultural context of a work, viewing it as a product of its time. Louis Montrose, another key figure in new historism, but Greenblatt only coined the term. Hayden White and Clifford Gritz, historians and anthropologists whose work was influential on new historism, but they are not its founder. So you have to remember all these things so you can eliminate the wrong answers. Alice Walker, through the term dash, highlighted the voice of African American women. So the correct answer is humanism. Alice Walker introduced the term humanist in 1983, collection of essays in search of our mother's gardens humanist prose. She defined it as a form of feminism that is rooted in the history and culture of black women and is committed to survival and wholeness of all people. So the others are wrong answers to this question. So next we have the question number 65, which emphasize the language concealed, revealed, or modified hidden desires, anxieties, and fears. The correct answer is Sigmund Freud. This idea is central to the psychoanalytical theory of Sigmund Freud. He argued that the unconscious mind is a repository of repressed desires, fears, and memories, and that these can be revealed through slips of tongue. Freudian slips. We call it as Freudian slips, dreams, and other uses of language. So Carl Jung, while a key figure of psychoanalysis, his focus was on archetype and the collective unconscious. Ernest Jones, a follower of Freud, Maud Ehrman, a contemporary literary critic who has written on psychoanalysis. So next we have the question number 66. Norman Holland proposed that readers use literary text to fulfill their fantasies. So the correct answer for this question is The Dynamics of Literary Response in 1968. In this influential 1968 book, The Dynamics of Literary Response, Norman Holland applied psychoanalytical principles to reader response criticism. He argued that readers interpret literary terms based on their own identity themes and use the text to work through and fulfill their unconscious fantasies. So BCD, these are other works by Holland, but Dynamics of Literary Response is where he most famously articulated his theory. Next we have the question number 67. Raymond Williams and have been synonyms with the leftist writings and enriched Marxism in English literary criticism. So the correct answer is Terry Eagleton. Terry Eagleton is a prominent British literary theorist and leading figure in Marxist literary criticism. He was a student of Raymond Williams at Cambridge University, and his works builds upon extends Williams' cultural materialistic approach. So E.P. Thompson, a Marxist historian, not primarily a literary critic. Frederick Jameson, an American Marxist critic. Leon Trotsky, a Russian revolutionary and political theorist. So next we have the question number 68. Edward Said's phenomenally influential Orientalism was published in the year 1978. Edward Said groundbreaking book Orientalism was published in 1978. It is a foundational text of post-colonial theory in which Said argues that the Western representation of the Middle East is colonialist, a discourse that constructs the Orient as an exotic and inferior other. So next we have question number 69. The first major academic critic in the African American context was who became famously for his biography of black poet Paul Rollins Dunbar. The correct answer is Benjamin Brawley. Benjamin Brawley was an important early 20th century African American educator and literary critic. He is known for the pioneering work in African American literary history, including his biography of the poet Paul Laurence Dunbar. So why other options are incorrect? Why? Because Booker T. Washington, an educator and political leader. W.E.B. Du Bois, a sociologist, historian, and activist. Alain Locke, a philosopher and key figure in Harlem Renaissance. That's why the correct answer is Benjamin Brawley. Next, we have the question number 70. Who wrote Life Against Death? So, the Norman Brown is the correct answer. Life Against Death, the psychoanalytical meaning of history is 1959. Book by American scholar Norman O. Brown. This book is highly influential work of Freudian Marxism that uses psychoanalytical theory to critique modern society. Marie Bonaparte, a French psychoanalyst and a close associate of Freud. Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, the founders of psychoanalysis. So next we have the question number 671. Which of the following research paradigm focuses on exploring the subjective experience of individual and emphasis context and meaning? So the correct answer is phenomenology. Phenomenology is a research paradigm often used in a qualitative research that seeks to understand or describe and lived experience of individuals. It focuses on subjective meaning that people give to their experience rather than on objective external reality. Positivism, a paradigm that emphasizes objective, observable, and measurable facts. Structuralism focuses on the underlying structure that shapes social phenomena. Functionalism, a theory in sociology and anthropology that views society as a system, interconnected parts. So next we have question number 72. In a mixed method research design, which of the following represents the correct sequence of the research? So the correct answer is B. Qualitative phase, quantitative phase, data collection, and data. Mixed methods research designs can have various sequences. However, the options presents phases as a discrete steps in a sequential design. A researcher might conduct a qualitative phase first to explore a topic, followed by quantitative phase to test hypotheses on a larger scale. Then he will collect the data, analyze it with each phase. Option B presents the phases themselves, qualitative and quantitative, before the general process of data collection and analysis, which is a logical way to conceptualize a study structure. None of the options perfectly describes a clear research process, but B is the most possible structuring of the components. That's why B is the correct answer. A, C, D, these sequences are less logical. Data collection and analysis are an integral part of a qualitative and quantitative phases, not separate steps that come before or after them in this manner. That's why B option is a correct answer. So next we have question number 73. In qualitative research, what technique involves systematically reviewing and categorizing data to identify recurring themes or patterns? The correct answer is thematic analysis. Thematic analysis is widely used qualitative research technique that involves identifying, analyzing, and reporting patterns with the data. It is fixable method that can be applied to wide range of qualitative data such as interviews, focus groups, and text. So that's why the thematic analysis is the correct answer. Grounded theory, a specific methodology for developing theory from data. Ethnography, a research method that involves immersing oneself in a particular culture or social group. Case study analysis, an in-depth study of a single individual group or a event. That's why thematic analysis is the correct answer for that question. 74. Which ethical principle in research requires that participants give informed and voluntary consent before participating? The correct answer is autonomy. The ethical principle of autonomy recognizes the right of individual to make their own decision in a research. This means that participants must be given enough information to make an informed decision about whether to participate, and that their participation must be voluntary and free from coercion. Confidentiality, the ethical obligation to protect the privacy of participants' data. Anonymity, a situation in which the researcher cannot identify the participant. Deception, the act of misleading participants about true nature of the research, which is generally considered unethical. So next we have the last question of this session, 75. A researcher is interested in studying a small specific group in depth to gain a rich understanding of their experience. Which research approach is most appropriate? So the most appropriate research method is case study. A case study is a research approach that involves in-depth, detailed examination of a single case or a small number of cases. This method is ideal for gaining a rich, holistic understanding of a particular phenomena in its real world context. Surveys, especially just it is a collection of data from a large number of group. Experiments is used to test causal relationship between variables. Cross-sectional study involves collecting data from a population at a single point in a time. So, in a quasi-experimental design, what is the key difference compared to a true experimental design? So the correct answer for this question is lack of randomization. The defining difference between a true experimental design and a quasi-experimental design is the absence of random assignments of the participants to the control and experimental groups. While quasi-experiment still involve the manipulation of an independent variable to observe its effect. The non-random assignment makes it more difficult to rule out confounding variables and establish a clear causal relationship. Okay. So the why other options are incorrect? Why? Because random assignment of the participant. This is a key feature of true experimental design, not a key difference. Use of control and experimental groups. Both true and quasi-experimental design can use experimental and control the groups. Manipulation of an independent variable. This is a type of a feature. This is a type of feature of both types of experimental design. So next we have question number 77. Which type of research question aims to explore the relationship between two or more variables without implying a causal relationship? So the correct answer is correlation research. It is designed to identify the strength and direction of relationship between two or more variables. It can show that relationship exists, but it cannot prove that one variable caused a change in another. That's why it's a correct answer. Descriptive. This type of research aims to describe the characteristics of a population or a phenomena. Casual and comparative. This approach seeks to find the cause of existing difference between groups. Experimental. This method is used to establish cause and effect relationship. So next we have question number 78. Which research design involves collecting data from the same participants at multiple times point to study the changes over time? So the correct answer for this is a longitudinal study. It is a research design that involves repeated observations of the same variables over a short or long period of time. This allows researchers to track development and change. Cross-sectional, this design collects data from the population a single point in a time. Case study, it is an in-depth study of a single case. Correlation, this refers to a type of relationship between variables, not a research designed for studying change over a time. That's why the correct answer is longitudinal approach. Next we have question number 79. In a qualitative interview, what is probing question used for? So the correct answer is to explore the topics in depth. Probing questions are follow-up questions used by an interviewer to encourage the interviewee to provide more detailed and elaborated answers. They are essential for gaining a deeper understanding of a participant's experience and perspective. So why these options are incorrect? Because to close the interview, it is not a correct answer. Why? Because closing an interview typically involves summary statement and expression of thanks. To obtain a brief answer, it is also not correct answer, because when probes are designed to elicit the longer and more detailed response. To confirm the participant bias, it is also not correct answer. Why? Because a researcher might be aware of the potential biases. The purpose of probe is to explore the participant's viewpoint, not to confirm the preconceived notion of bias. Next, we have question number 80. What is the purpose of conducting literature review in research process? So the correct answer for this question is to establish theoretical framework. A literature review is a critical survey of the existing scholarly work on a particular topic. Its primary purpose is to establish the theoretical framework and context of the research, identify gaps in existing knowledge, and provide a rationale for the current study. While it can also help to generate the hypothesis and summarize the findings, its most fundamental role is to situate the research within a broader scholarly conversation. So, to identify potential research participants, this is not a primary purpose of literature review. To generate research hypothesis, or literature review can help in generating hypothesis, but it is not a main purpose of the product. To summarize the research finding, is part of the literature review process, but not its ultimate process or purpose. Okay. So question number 81, which among the following is the best of the morality plays? So the correct answer is Everyman. Everyman is the most famous and widely studied of the medieval morality plays. It is an allegorical drama which the character of Everyman is summoned by death and must account for his life. The play's powerful themes of morality, salvation, and the importance of good deeds have ensured its enduring appeal. So Vice is a stock character in morality plays, not a play itself. The Devil. The Devil is a character in many morality plays. The Three Marys, a title more associated with mystery play cycles. Okay. So this is 82. Age cannot wither her nor custom style her infinite variety. These lines are about Cleopatra are uttered by whom? So the correct answer is Barbus, Barbus. This famous description of Cleopatra is spoken by Antonius' loyal friend soldier Barbus in Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, Act 2, Scene 2. Enobarbarus is describing Cleopatra's captivating and ever-changing charm to a group of Roman soldiers. So next we have question number 83. Which blank verse play among the following is considered to be Dryden's masterpiece? The correct answer for this question is All for Love or The Word Well Lost, 1677, is John Dryden's most famous acclaimed play and a classical example of restoration tragedy. Written in blank verse, it is retelling of the story of Antony and Cleopatra, but in a more neoclassical style than Shakespeare version. So why other options are incorrect? Because they not. Uh, huh. Next we have question number 84. The Cenci is considered to be the dramatic masterpiece of. The correct answer is P.B. Shelley. The Cenci is five-act verse tragedy by P.B. Shelley, written in 1819, based on true story of incest and parricide in 16th century Italy. It is considered Shelley's finest dramatical work. Next, 85. Which of the following plays of G.B. Shaw is witty and highly entertaining study of class distinction? The correct answer is Pygmalion. It is one of the best and popular play of G.B. Shaw. It tells the story of phonetic professor Henry Higgins, who makes a bet that he can transform a Konkani flower girl, Eliza Doolittle, into a lady. The play is sharp and witty satire on British class system and social importance of language. So next we have question number 86. The presence of what is felt sometimes as a fearsome, relentless enemy and sometimes as a kind confronter in Synge's play. The correct answer is nature. The plays of John Millington Synge are deeply rooted in the landscape and culture of rural Ireland. In his work, nature is a powerful and ambivalent force. It can be harsh and unforgiving, as in Riders to the Sea, but it can also be a source of beauty, freedom, and spiritual solace, as in the Playboy of the Western world. So next we have question number 87. The greatest exponent in English of the expressionist drama is Eugene O'Neill, is the person who was influenced by European expressionist movement in plays such as The Emperor Jones and The Hairy Ape. He used non-realistic techniques such as distorted settings, stylized acting, and dream sequence to explore the inner psychological state of his characters. 88. King Oedipus rescues Thebes from the curse of the Phoenix. In Sophocles' tragedy, Oedipus writes the city of Thebes is being plagued by Phoenix, a monstrous creature who kills anyone who cannot answer her riddle. Oedipus saves the city by solving the riddle, and as a reward, he has made king of Thebes. So next we have question number 89. Who is recipient of Jnanapith Award, the highest literary honor conferred on an Indian? The correct answer is Girish Karnad. He was a major figure in modern Indian theatre. He was awarded with the Jnanapith Award in 1998 for his contribution to literature. He was most prolific playwright, actor, and director who wrote primarily in Kannada. 90. Who established the Black Arts Repertory Theatre in Harlem? Correct answer is Imamu Amiri Baraka. In 1965, the poet playwright Amiri Baraka founded the Black Arts Repertory Theatre in Harlem. It was the artistic wing of Black Arts movement which sought to create a new and revolutionary black aesthetic. 91. One of the following is considered to be Geoffrey Chaucer's magnum opus. The correct answer is the Canterbury Tales. It is the most famous work by Geoffrey Chaucer. It is a collection of stories told by a group of pilgrims on their way to Canterbury, and it provides a vivid and wide-ranging portrait of medieval English. So next we have question number 92. Shakespeare's sonnet from 1 to 126 seem to be addressed to a young man. The first 126 of Shakespeare's 154 sonnets are addressed to fair youth, a young man of a great beauty and high social standing. The sonnet explores the themes of love, beauty, time, and immortality, and they urge the young man to marry and have children to preserve his beauty. His lady love sonnets are addressed from 127 to 152. They are addressed to dark lady. He never wrote for his wife and his fair friend. The fair youth is the correct word for the uh, Spenser. Next is Spenser's epic The Fairy Queen honors Queen Elizabeth I, idealized by him as a. So the correct answer is Gloronia. In Edmund Spenser's allegorical epic The Fairy Queen, the character of Gloronia, the Queen of Fairyland, is a representation of Queen Elizabeth I. The knights in the poem undertake quests in her honor, and she embodies the virtue of a perfect monarch. Next, 94. Satire is one of the most common aspects of poetry during the time. One of the following poets is John Dryden. John Dryden was a leading figure of Restoration period, an age known for its witty and satirical literature. Dryden himself was a master of satire, as seen in the poems like Absalom and Matt Falcon. Samuel Butler is he was also 17th century satirist, but he was not a dominant figure as uh, John Dryden. Matthew Arnold, he was a Victorian poet and critic, and Fletcher, he was a Jacobean playwright. 95. Elegy written in Country Churchyard is uh, one of the best known lyric poems by Thomas Gray. This poem was written by Thomas Gray in 1751. He was a 18th century English poet. It is a meditative poem which have the themes of death, mortality, and lives of the common people. Next is match the followings. Christie Coleridge, The Rime of Ancient Mariner, William Wordsworth, The Prelude, T.B. Shelley, Ode to the West Wind, and John Keats, Ode to Nightingale. Identify the poet who is associated with pre-flight movement. Dante Gabriel Rossetti was the founding member of Pre-Flight Brotherhood, a group of English painters, poets, and critics in 1848. His poetry, like his paintings, is known for its sensuousness, medievalism, and detailed symbolism. So next we have question number 98. The American poet to receive 4 Pulitzer Prize for his poetry. So the Robert Frost is the correct answer for this. He was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for poetry 4 times. In 1924, New Hemisphere, a poem with notes and grace notes. In 1931, collected poems. In 1937, a further range, and in 1943, a witness free. The Indian poet who used to use the rich Indian heritage of myth and folklore and converted popular stories from Ramayana and Mahabharata and the Puranas into English verse. The correct answer is Toru Datta. Toru Datta was a pioneering figure in Indian English literature. In her 1882 collection, Ancient Ballads and Legends of Hindustan, she retold the stories from Indian mythology and folklore in English verse, making them accessible to wider audience. The last question of this session, that is 100. Name the first autobiography that brought fame to Maya Angelou. The correct answer is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. 1969 is the first of Maya Angelou's 7 autobiographies. It tells the stories of her childhood and adolescence, and it has an immediate critical commercial success, bringing her international recognition. So that concludes our analysis of the remaining questions from the Karnataka Set 2024 English Literature paper. I hope this discussion helps you understand the exam pattern and important topics to focus on. If you would like to revise these questions and answers at your own pace, don't forget that the detailed PDF for this analysis is available in the description box. You can download it and you can support us, uh, and also the full analysis, in the sense first 200 question is also available in the description box. You can check out that. Also do check out part 1, part 2, part 3 of this series and our analysis on the 23 paper for complete and effective preparation. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, subscribe for exam oriented content. Thank you for watching and best wishes for your preparation. Hello and welcome to our Ace-Educate, where we are discussing about KSET 2024 question paper